You know, a lot of people had thought that, and maybe this employment report would be showing it, that with the tax cuts and everything else, people would be, or businesses would be hiring more workers, Thomas, and it turns out they hired fewer than thought. Now, I know there are variations to this. We were showing a full screen there. I think that might have shown something else, so I apologize. But we added 164,000 jobs in April. A lot of people thought it would be significantly more than that, and that some are getting a little impatient, frustrated that the tax cut gain hasn't been bigger for the economy. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. Short-term statistics are hard to put a lot of reliance on, especially since many of these statistics are revised months after they've come out. And so I would think a year's data would tell us a lot more.
Yeah, you were mentioning economist Paul Krugman, the New York Times columnist as well, said that it's a big nothing burger. The tax cut's a nothing burger. Nancy Pelosi said that it hasn't amounted to being nearly as advantageous for average folks as was thought. Marco Rubio saying he wishes individuals got more out of this than we thought. What are they saying, and what are you saying?
I'm not at all sure what they're saying. Again, the short-term numbers don't usually tell you a lot. If I look back at the prior statements of Paul Krugman and Nancy Pelosi, I do not have an awful lot of confidence, and I'll give a lot of weight to what they say.
What about Paul Krugman?
They've been wrong big time before.
Yeah. What about Paul Krugman? Of course, he was never a fan of the tax cut. He worried about that one adding to the deficit, not so much the $8.5 to $9 trillion in added spending that will be added to the deficit and debt over the years. But what did you make of it?
Well, again, you're right that Krugman takes this position. He's taken a lot of positions which are indefensible. So I'm not the least bit surprised that he's taken another one.
Do you think tax cuts should be paid for? We look at it the same as spending. In other words, you're going to offer a tax cut, pay for it, make sure it all balances out over a multi-year period.
You cannot make sure of anything. All the government can do is change the tax rate. How the economy will respond depends upon a lot of other things. But in a number of both Democratic and Republican administrations over the years, I mean, like Coolidge, like John F. Kennedy, Reagan, Bush 43, and all those administrations, tax rates were cut, tax revenues rose. So the idea that you can just go as a one-to-one correlation is beyond the pale. The other thing, too, is that people who've argued against tax cuts have said, well, the deficits rose. There is no amount of money that Congress cannot outspend.
Yeah,
the Reagan administration collected more.
Under either party. Right.
Under either party. The Reagan administration collected more tax revenue than in any previous administration in the history of the country. There was a deficit because Congress spent even more than that. So the deficit is really not very much of a guide. You first have to know, did the revenue go up or didn't it? Now, the Internal Revenue Service publishes those numbers. I don't know why people are speculating so much when the data are right there in black and white.
Yeah, they do. The money comes in, but it goes out much faster. If the House were to change hands, I know you don't like getting into politics here, but already Democrats have promised to rework that tax cut and start from scratch. I believe that's Nancy Pelosi's position on this. Then what? What would you envision?
I would envision that if they cut the tax rate, if they raise the tax rate under current conditions, that you would have a slowdown in the economy. And some people who have jobs now probably wouldn't have them a year or so from now.
So the Federal Reserve separately looks at this. If you're worried about the economy overheating or unemployment going too low or businesses running out of potential workers or pool of workers, that would signal a lot of rate increases, which would offset whatever you're getting from the tax cuts, wouldn't it?
I assume so.
That would probably be a good problem to have, right? But
yes, but the Federal Reserve, predicting what the Federal Reserve will do, and still more so trying to predict what the consequences will be, is really a hazardous game.
How do you think President Trump is doing?
better than I expected and better than a lot of other people expected. I think the people around him are, many of them, very good people, an improvement over the past couple of administrations. So it's not clear just why things are the way they are, but they are what they are, and what they are is by and large better.
He's tough on trade, tough with the Chinese. Our delegation is coming back from Beijing empty-handed thus far. They weren't expected to come up with something so soon. But are you worried about a trade war?
Yes. I have long believed that the Smoot-Hawley tariff of 1930 had a lot more to do with the Great Depression than the stock market that's been blamed. I mean, in the 12 months that followed the stock market crash in 1929, unemployment never reached 10%. But within 5 months after the Smoot-Hawley tariff, it reached double digits, and it stayed in double digits every single month for the entire decade. The Smoot-Hawley tariff didn't do all of that, but it was one government intervention after another.
Yeah. Thomas, thank you very, very much. Congratulations winning the attention of one Kanye West. I don't think you needed that, but congratulations for getting that. A little more to this.
Fine, thank you.